Genshin Impact is indeed a video game that I play, and there are a lot of positive aspects to it, trust me. The lore is deep, the combat is fairly engaging, and let's just say that the late game content is very replayable. Anyway, arguably the best part of the game is the wide variety of playable characters, all with different personalities and designs. These characters are separated into two groups, 4 stars and the much rarer, much more powerful 5 stars. Before a 5-star is featured on an upcoming event banner, HOYO-verse always puts out a promotional video called a character demo, which is basically a trailer to advertise that 5-star character and convince people to shell out hundreds of dollars for their new waifu or husbando. So I thought it would be a good idea to rank every single 5-star demo in Genshin Impact. Let's set a few rules. Obviously, I'm only ranking the 5 stars on this list. That's pretty self-explanatory. But I'm also not ranking the demos of Keqing, Mona, Qiqi or Aloy, since the first 3 are pretty low quality demos which came out before the game even officially released, and Aloy is just a promo character for Horizon Forbidden West. I'll be ranking these demos based on a variety of factors, including visual spectacle, music, and how well these aspects stylistically represent the character. I am going to take into account the ages of these character demos in order to rank them fairly. That is to say, obviously, older demos have a lower production value than newer demos due to HOYO-verse's lack of experience in the early days, but I'm not going to hold that against them. And finally, this is all my opinion. Everyone will have their own ideas for how they would rank these character demos, and I can understand that since they are all exceptionally well made. I'd really like to see what you guys think in the comments. But since I know people don't listen to these opinion disclaimers, I'm fully expecting the entire Genshin community to launch an all-out raid on my home. But speaking of raid, this video is sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends. Raid Shadow Legends just celebrated their 3rd anniversary as one of the top RPG games out there, but even though they're already a leading mobile and PC game, they just keep adding new content. Want to fight waves of enemies? Well, Raid has the all-new Doom Tower, sprawling over 120 levels. The Doom Tower brings exciting new challenges for seasoned players, with terrifying new bosses to slay. Are you the type of person who wants character variety? Well, Raid has hundreds of unique champions, and they just keep adding more. In fact, last year, Raid added the brand new Shadowkin faction, a tribe of warriors from the Far East, recently liberated from the reign of evil. And if we're talking new content, we gotta mention the all-new Hydra boss. This monster has multiple heads, each with a different ability and requires a different strategy to destroy. Raid Shadow Legends is a great game, and is well suited for casual players or die-hard fans. I strongly recommend you download it using the link below. I really like how different bosses require different strategies to beat their gimmicks, like this spider boss which constantly spawns little spiderlings, requiring you to have good crowd control. There are also some awesome new champions coming out and a set of skins for the amazing Trunda Gilt Mallet. And there's also the Deliana Chase event where you can get your hands on the amazing legendary Deliana just by logging in. All you gotta do is log in and play Raid for 7 days between now and July 28th, and you'll get Deliana for free. No need to grind for weeks when you're handed a 5-star for simply playing the game. Enter promo code MyDeliana to receive a ton of silver and 50 XP brews to instantly max a level. If you click my link in the description or scan my QR code here on the screen, you'll get $30 worth of unique bonuses. We're talking about a free epic champion, Aina, 200,000 silver, 1 energy refill, 1 XP boost, and 1 ancient shard, so you can summon a rare champion ASAP. All this and more are awaiting you in Raid Shadow Legends. But back to the video. One more quick thing. Let's lay down the general format of each demo. Generally, they begin with an opening scene to introduce the character, followed by a transition into the character's introductory art. Then there is a showcase of the character's normal attacks and sometimes skills or gimmicks. Then there is a period of downtime where the pacing slows. Then there is the burst scene, in which the character uses their elemental burst. This is usually the climax of the demo and is usually meant to look really cool or show off the strength of the character. Finally, there is an outro, which slows down and tapers off the intensity of the previous burst scene. With all that being said, we have 19 5-star characters to talk about, so let's get ranking.
So, I cannot permit you to trample these flowers.
I really like all of these character demos, but I know one of them has to be at the bottom of the list, so I had to choose the one I liked the least. Ganyu's character demo had quite some missed potential. While there are many great aspects to it, a lot of stuff left me underwhelmed. The demo begins with Ganyu sleeping under a tree. and waking up to see a group of monsters about to trample a field of sweet flowers. She prepares to fend off the enemies, and the transition into the introductory arc looks fantastic. The next part is something I'm not quite fond of. While the subsequent moveset showcase very aptly shows off the grace and regality in the way she moves, the edits are fairly generic save for some pretty cool effects. The showcase of the bloom charged attack, while informative, lacks the impact that a major character gimmick is supposed to have. Ganyu then wakes up to Chi-Chi touching her horns, which is admittedly very cute, and sets up all of the Coco Goat subtext. The subsequent elemental burst scene is incredible, and definitely my favourite part of the demo. All of those camera pans around and even over the top of the sacred cryo pearl both look good and also sell the strength and wide coverage of the attack very well. I also like that stylish silhouetted pose which closes out the scene. The demo ends somewhat anticlimactically, however, with Ganyu just standing in the center screen, striking a pose, and then there's a fade to black. This demo is one which focuses more on showcasing how the character is played, rather than the character herself. There's a lot of shooting, summoning ice lotuses, and causing celestial showers, but very little of this tells us much about Ganyu's actual personality, just more about her playstyle. A lot of these combat scenes, while well edited, are mostly just in-game footage and therefore can't stand up compared to a lot of other demos which also integrate actual cutscene animation into the fights. Overall, a serviceable demo that showcases the abilities and playstyle of the character, but not much in the way of personality or stylistic design as a whole, compared to most other demos. I'll admit, this one might be a bit biased because I'm not a fan of Childe, but there are a lot of redeeming qualities about his demo. It starts off very nicely with Childe narrating a letter he is sending to Snezhnaya to his sister Tonya, and the subsequent scene of him surfing down the waterfall is iconic and looks really cool, as well as it flowing very well into his introductory art. The demo also does well to showcase Childe's unique gimmick of having access to both a bow and swords, and I like how the continuously changing shots of Childe fighting treasure hoarders, monsters, and even the Millilith perfectly encapsulate his personality as an adrenaline junkie who just wants to pick a fight. I guess that one split-second cut where it shows a glass pane breaking to reveal a hydro symbol behind it is cool, and a decent segue into the burst scenes, both ranged and melee. This I'm not too much of a fan of. I can't conceive any way they could have done this differently, but I don't like the fact that the demo has to focus on two different elemental bursts. It just lessens the impact of both of them when they need to fit both within a specific time frame together. What I do like, however, is the particular emphasis on his constellation in this scene, since most demos don't show character constellations even at all. Of course, it's very endearing that the demo also ends with Childe narrating the letter to his sister, of which the contents is surprisingly wholesome.
But Tonya, rest assured, the future that Tsaritsa desires, the future the people of Snezhnaya desire, it will be had.
It's good that this portrays Childe in a more tender way and shows that despite his egotistical and restless nature, he still cares about his family. The overall music is energetic and loud metal, which suits the aggressive and confident Childe in the fight scenes, but during the intro and outro, the music is soft, calm piano, symbolizing Childe's double life, masquerading as a toy seller to his family to hide his work as a Fatui Harbinger. If it wasn't for the fantastic music and symbolism, I probably might even put Childe lower than Ganyu. Overall, this demo is okay, but not one I'm all too keen on rewatching anytime soon. But as you can see, I still had a lot of good to say about this demo, meaning that I hold all of the rest of the demos in equal or higher regard.
The Fatui would do well to update their intelligence concerning me. But of course, that would require one of you to return in one piece.
I just didn't feel much when I watched Ayato's character demo. Don't get me wrong, there is a lot to like about this demo. As one of the newest releases, the animation looks fantastic. The opening scene starts the demo off at a high point of tension, with Ayato issuing the Shumatsuban a covert mission. The fireworks in the background look great, and the colours are vibrant. But while the introductory art itself looks cool, the transition into it unfortunately isn't as smooth. I appreciate a lot of the stylistic choices, like a lot of the edits are very similar to Ayaka's demo, to indicate both of their Kamisato heritage. The portrayal of Ayato's Shinsuiken slashes is awesome, with all the flashing after images showing his speed and grace in combat, a lot in part because the move already looks so good in game. There's a bit of downtime when the Fatui Pyro agent goes invisible, and we're treated to some nice, but not spectacular looking reflections of the night sky. The main problem I have with this demo is the burst scene. It is probably the least impactful looking elemental burst in any of these demos, and borders on looking unintentionally funny. Sure, the visuals of the reflection are cool, but in the end, it's just Aido standing in that weird knees bent, leaning backward position for like 5 seconds, and then it starts raining, and that's really it. I guess the scene also shows off the normal attack buff Aido gains by standing within the circle, but you wouldn't really understand that without reading in-game stats. The final scene is pretty interesting for lore reasons, showing that Ayato had been secretly working alongside the resistance to abolish the Vision Hunt decree, and does pretty accurately demonstrate Ayato's very intelligent and conniving personality. But all in all, I'm just kind of disappointed in this demo. At the time of this video, this is the second newest 5-star character demo, meaning there was so much room to reach for the stars with something groundbreaking and new in comparison to older demos. But this one just didn't take that opportunity. Yelan's demo did manage to take things to new heights, and don't worry, we'll be getting into that one in due time. Overall, this demo is a resounding meh for me. The only time I ever rewatched this demo before I decided to make this video was to check out the little Sayu cameos I missed in my first watch through. Venti. Ranked the lowest out of the 3 currently playable Archons. Maybe it was because his demo was one of the first ones released and hence less polished than others. Or maybe he just doesn't have the same sense of dramatic scale that old John Lee or Miss Boobersword have in spades. The demo opens with Venti playing a song on his lyre while reciting a poem, which obviously is a very good way of starting a demo about a carefree bard. He is, however, interrupted by a Sisson mage who attacks him. I gotta say, Venti's transition into his introductory art is honestly one of the best out of any demo, because it syncs so well with the music. Probably because right as the music starts, he strums his lyre as if he's the one who begins playing. The normal attack showcase is one of the weak points of this demo. However, there are some cool edits, like when they shine Venti under a spotlight, which makes a lot of thematic sense since he is a performer. And I especially like that part where he fires an arrow from his bow, but then thrusts his lyre forwards in a quick transition into the elemental skill showcase. My favourite part of this demo has to be these scenes, with some cool shots like Venti moving from the foreground into the background as a silhouette, and while sending enemies into the air doesn't look that cool, Venti focusing to form a magic circle and launch himself into the air certainly looks fantastic. Alas, Venti's elemental burst is another weak point in this demo, as it doesn't really feel all that impactful when all that you're focusing on is a group of hilichurls panicking as they are left suspended in the air. At least the integration of Lisa and Klee into the scene makes it a little more interesting. Somehow, I haven't explicitly spoken about the music yet. It's really good, and I like the metal violin idea, the use of a string instrument as a lead to represent Venti's lyre. Venti's demo is cool, but it just doesn't stand up when compared to many of the other demos. Many of the good stuff are just good, but not amazing across the board.
I must say, this is quite the cunning trap.
Call me a Yai hater, but I'm not too much of a fan of this demo, for reasons I really can't put my finger on. The opening scene is very endearing, beginning with the narration of a light novel about Yai's daily routine, accompanied by some unique illustrations. It gets cut short when Yai wants to make some changes to make it more exciting. I can imagine this scene was made to show that Yai is both the head priestess of the Narukami Shrine, as well as the owner of the Yai publishing house. It's a neat concept for the majority of the demo to take place in a story being created by Yai Miko, since it does open up the opportunity for more fantastical elements to be at play. There is a decent balance between portrayal of playstyle and a portrayal of personality in this demo, which is good. It does well to show the use of the Sessho Sakura as an evasive and an offensive maneuver, while still showing Yai as the smug and cunning individual she is. I must say that the music definitely captures Yai's personality very well. Sophisticated and mysterious, but also whimsical and mischievous. Obviously, my favourite scene is this scene, where Yai Miko performs a ritual to conjure up her great secret art, Tenko Kenshin, while Kitsune's spirits orbit around her. I like the implication that the immense lightning bolt is sent from the Narukami Shrine itself to attack its target anywhere. It's nice that the ending of the demo snaps back into reality, of course, as a nice literal bookend. And it's a very minor detail, but you can see that a Kitsune fox form of Yai is sleeping on the Genshin Impact logo in the outro. This demo is actually somewhat okay, but I feel that the other demos ahead of it on this list are just better in general, so it's not necessarily Yai's demo's fault for being this low on the list.
Honestly, can't even finish my haiku without being interrupted.
Kaedara Kazuha is a character I am very interested in, but his demo didn't engage me as much as I expected it to. I like how it starts and ends with him writing a haiku, which is a neat way to show his carefree, poetic nature. As a samurai and skilled swordsman, it makes stylistic sense for there to be so many dramatic shots of him slashing his sword at enemies and sheathing his blade. Heck, there's even a whole shot where it's just a bunch of instances of Kazuha posing dramatically with his sword. I especially like that shot where Kazuha sheaths his sword and suddenly changes to a more traditional Japanese style. I like how the downtime is a transition into a very cool scene where everything becomes black and white with a vignette filter and more crackly compressed audio, very reminiscent of old Japanese samurai movies from the 1950s and 60s, especially with those dramatic camera shots of Kazuha and Beidou staring each other down on the bridge. I guess I also like that part where it flashes between Beidou and Kazuha's eyes, because it shows how they are connected to one another lore-wise. The burst scene is quite high impact, with the epic slow motion after he uses the attack, and it's a very apt demonstration of how his Chihaya Baru can be infused with an element, and that last part where Kazuha sheaths his sword and it transitions into a maple leaf which follows through the movement of the blade really looks cool. Now onto the stuff I don't really like. There's these rewinding effects that are really jarring and don't suit the character of Kazuha in any conceivable way, and I don't understand why they are in the demo. Speaking of not fitting, did you know that the background music has remixed rap vocals? I can't watch this demo without thinking about it, and how rap vocals are probably the worst possible stylistic choice you could have made for Kazuha's background music in my opinion. Aside from, you know, swapping it for Cleese. Overall, decent enough demo, but brought down by some seriously weird editing choices in my opinion.
But when smaller fish gather together, they can act as one body for the protection of all. This is how the weak mount their resistance.
Kogumi's character demo is so disappointing, because I know it could have been so much more. As a positive, this demo is one of the most visually stunning, beginning with such a unique underwater atmosphere being portrayed here unlike any other demo. Everything looks so cool, it's actually kind of unbelievable. The aesthetic of the colour scheme of Watatsumi Island is also very visually appealing, with all the blue and purple colour schemes complementing Kogumi's. The downtime in this demo is one of the best looking as well, with a vibrant night sky filled with bright lights, bubbles and shooting stars. And then the burst scene hits with such a different take on the idea of impact. Instead of showing off the strength of the attack, this one goes all in on visual spectacle, showing off Kogumi's ceremonial garments.
Billowing surge!
Even in the showcase of her newly powered up moveset, the camera is always focused on Kokumi and her new attire. The switch to the final scene is also very cool, with the zoom into Kokumi's eyes to transition back into the stunning underwater environment. The music, while not very memorable, fits the peace and tranquility of Kokumi's calm nature, and I especially love the crescendo when she uses her burst. I really want to love this demo, but the thing I can't get my mind past is how blandly it portrays Kokumi's character. She's a military strategist, but you would barely know that by watching the demo. When you think about it like that, it feels like a major missed opportunity on HOYO-Verse's part to make Kokumi look like a more engaging character. At least show her leading a resistance army into battle. Showcase her healing powers by having her heal soldiers who are injured in combat with a jellyfish, since the current demo tells us nothing about her healing capabilities. Have her fight alongside her men to indicate that she can hold her own in a fight, since she is designed to be both a support and a burst DPS character. Don't just show her fighting generic slimes, have her fight actual Tenryo commission soldiers. Overall, the amazing visuals absolutely carry this character demo, but there are so many missed opportunities to make the demo even better that I can't help but be a little disappointed in the portrayal of one of my favourite characters.
Demons are masters of deception. Never let down your guard.
Shenhe's character demo used to be one I really didn't like, and I at one point considered it to be among the worst 5 demos, but it has really grown on me as I wrote this video, to the point where I have moved it substantially higher than where it first sat on my list. It's nice to see Chongyun in a cutscene for once. Shenhe protecting him using a talisman spirit was also a very cool moment, despite them not knowing of their relations to each other yet. The normal attack showcase isn't the most striking segment editing wise, but I like the segue between this part and the elemental skill showcase. It's a short clip of Shenhe stepping through a white and black void, tailed by red ropes and talisman spirits. Shenhe is moving from the darkness to the light, symbolizing how she is trying to move on from her dark and traumatic past, using her skills as an exorcist to help others, but is burdened by the red ropes and the emotional apathy they force upon her. The show of the elemental skill is actually quite well edited, with many intriguing camera shots and cool transitions, like this one where a talisman slides across the screen to move on to another scene. There are also a ton of seamless movements which mesh together her combat and the separate clips of her movements in the white void. Similar to Ganyu, the demo does well to portray the grace of Shenhe's movements as she fights, which is fitting as they were obviously both trained by the same Adeptus. There is no downtime moment in the middle of this demo. In fact, the action is heightened when the Abyss Mage summons a Stonehide Lower Cho. Shenhe's use of her elemental burst here is actually pretty cool, and of course it's neat that the Talisman Spirit is the one who gets the final hit on the Lower Cho. I also like that short glimpse of cranes flying, referencing Shenhe's trainer and surrogate mother, Cloud Retainer. And then that part where Shenhe poses in a white void splattered with black ink, but then the camera starts zooming out as red ropes start flying across the screen to obstruct a view is just mwah. Of course, one cannot forget the very cute interaction between Chongyun and Shenhe at the very end. The music, while forgettable, is decent enough at portraying Shenhe's stoic and disciplined personality. Overall, Shenhe's demo is actually pretty great. I came into this one with low expectations, but was pleasantly surprised by the end result.
Well, the waiting game is over.
As of this video, Yelan is the most recently added 5-star to the roster, so as such her demo is the most recent and therefore the most polished. I'll admit that the demo is remarkably well made and that most of the reasons for why it's not ranked higher is due to my own very personal dislike of some aspects. This demo is one which starts off slowly, but gets much better as it goes on. It begins with Yelan speaking with the merchant, who gets confronted by treasure hoarders. Fortunately, Yelan comes to the rescue with a fantastic transition into her introductory art. I'll say this here, I love the overall atmosphere of this demo. It's obviously inspired by a 1990s casino-esque style, and you can even see that in the lights which form Yelan's name. I'll mention the music now because it is very important to the whole demo. The music is absolutely phenomenal, and completely unexpected yet perfectly fitting. The jazz fits perfectly with Yelan's confident yet cunning personality. The normal attack showcase just emanates pure style and flashy movements, with a couple neat visuals of Yelan posing in front of vibrant blurred neon lights. Yelan's elemental skill showcase, while coming out of nowhere, looks very cool and shows off her speed and her use of the rope very neatly. The downtime near the middle shows off how Yelan's access to information and resources always keeps her in control of the situation, and also segues fairly well into the burst scene. And I gotta say, this burst scene is one which manages to balance both show of strength and aesthetic beauty incredibly well. Those dancing lights as a backdrop to Yelan and her Dai, accompanied by the massive build-up of the music, makes for an incredibly satisfying viewing experience, and is definitely my second favourite burst scene in any character demo. For me, this demo is amazing from start to end. Well, mostly. I really wasn't a fan of a couple of minor story elements in this demo. During the middle, there's a part where a treasure hoarder fires an arrow at Yelan, and she responds by blocking it using the body of a tied up treasure hoarder. I'm not the only person who would object to a playable character using someone else as a human shield. I also really don't like any of this demo's weird fan service. Like, they went really far with this very deliberate kink stuff like rope bondage, stepping on people, etc. Overall, I can't stress enough how good this demo is, but due to my personal biases, I can't rank it any higher than 11th. But from this placement, you can tell that the top 10 demos are seriously amazing if they are somehow higher than this one.
If I may, I would like to spar with you. Master of Inazuma Kamisato Art Tachijutsu. Kamisato Ayaka, present.
Like Shenhe, Ayaka's demo was something I wasn't initially excited about, but really came around to liking. The demo opens with the slow zoom in on Ayaka meditating in her courtyard, with frequent flashes of old film reel looking shots of Ayaka with blue flowers, indicating a sense of sophistication and elegance. The transition into the introductory art is very cool, with the upward rush of ice from the bottom of the screen, making it seem as though she just used her elemental skill, which is what her pose also seems to suggest. The music is amazing. It really gives off the vibes of sophistication and discipline, which obviously fits her character perfectly. What I like most about this demo is how they portray her character as kind and gentle, yet still capable of wielding a blade very effectively. I like how a lot of these beginning scenes just show her training at her home. Not fighting anyone, just slashing the air and honing her skills. Then we get into those awesome charge attacks. I like those slow motion shots of her sheathing her blade, putting special emphasis on the swift movements of her blade as opposed to the strength of her attack. The next scenes are incredibly dynamic shots of Ayako dashing down a river and a slow motion of her emerging from the water with the grace and sophistication that the demo is constantly trying to convey. And this grace and sophistication carries through to her use of the elemental skill, which the demo makes look absolutely stunning. This immediately transitions into the burst scene, where Ayako uses her Kamisato art Sumetsu, which, while not looking high impact in terms of strength, is aesthetically very beautiful. And the demo ends with a very cute interaction between Toma and Ayako, in which Ayako discusses training some more, probably so she can impress the traveler. My low ranking of Ayato was probably the reason why I came into this demo with low expectations, but I was pleasantly surprised that the younger sister somehow managed to upstage the older brother.
Cause I'm Arataki Ito, the Supreme, the one and only. Now it's showtime!
I'll admit that Arataki Ito has always been secretly one of my favorite characters. He is such a charismatic guy, and his character demo certainly shows that and more. The start of the demo is very important lore-wise, showing that Ito's vision was taken by the Vision Hunt decree. In the background, you can see people staring at Ito and his gang as they walk through town. On first watch through, you might think these people are scared of them, but once you get some additional context, you realize that these people are probably just bemused by this group of try-hard fools strolling past with a massive ladder. Most of the demo takes place in a flashback, when Ito and his gang were confronted by Tenryou commissioned soldiers trying to confiscate Ito's vision. I must say that the lead-up scene actually makes Ito look intimidating, dragging his club across the ground and slinging it onto his back to transition into his introductory art. I love how the demo goes for the unique style of not giving a damn about aesthetics, and really going all in on showing the brute strength of Ito's attacks, meaning that the editing of the in-game clips had to have been really good. That said, I really like how the screen shakes a little every time he lands even just a normal attack, and there's something about the camera angles and movements that makes each individual hit feel so impactful. The closest this demo gets to a downtime segment is when Ito is surrounded by Tenryou commissioned soldiers, but it immediately switches into the burst scene when Ito wields his Oni King's Kanabo. You know what I said about his normal attacks feeling impactful? Well, times that by 100 and you'll understand the raw strength and power Ito exudes from these newly powered up attacks. As usual, a cameo from another character is always brownie points in my book, and the arrival of Kudro-Sara makes complete sense in comparison to some other character appearances in other demos. The outro scene demonstrates the fact that Ito isn't just a massive, intimidating Oni, but also kind of a bumbling idiot who isn't exactly the smartest tool in the shed, with how angry he is that his vision wasn't put on the top of the statue and given the respect he thought it deserved.
Boss, looks like it ain't up here. Huh? I'm sorry, what? Hey, you better wipe that smirk off your face. Okay, I'm coming up there.
Surprisingly, I haven't touched on the music yet. It's fantastic, very loud and bombastic, which suits Ito's flamboyant attitude very well. I loved this demo when I first watched it, and I still love it to this day. I think it definitely deserves a spot this high.
Well, who do we have here?
HOYO-MiX's demo has such incredible aesthetic design and music that I can't help but rank it here. The art and pacing of the demo are the main highlights of it for me. The opening is very fun and shows how HOYO-MiX is a friendly, hands-on type of person who likes to help people out, her father, Beidou, even Toma. I really like the unique style that this demo goes for, with the colourful moving backgrounds and the objects falling onto the screen as if dangled by string. The normal attack showcase is very cute, and the demo uses these rapid-fire normal attacks to slide in some hints at HOYO-MiX's playful personality.
Pew, 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 pew.
Even during the elemental skill showcase, the demo never lets up the high energy and pacing, with the camera constantly moving and more of those cute hanging images. The demo even makes HOYO-MiX's charge shots look cool, especially with the comical whoosh that appears behind her, and those anime speed lines that appear when she hits the Nobushi. The only time when the pacing slows down is during the downtime segment, when fireworks start exploding in the sky. And of course, it looks incredibly vibrant and very well animated. It's nice to see both Yoimiya and the Nobushi stop fighting to simply enjoy the view, and it's almost a genuinely emotional scene, showing that fireworks can bring together even the greatest of enemies, even if only for a fleeting moment. And a fleeting moment it is, because Yoimiya suddenly goes straight back to fighting, activating her elemental burst, accompanied by the anime-esque speedline editing. Sayu rolls in at the last few moments of the demo to help out with some swirling action, still with the camera never holding still for more than a second. I really like how Yoimiya interrupts the outro of the demo to interject with suggestions for the Nobushi on how to contribute to Inazuman festivals, which is of course very charming and definitely indicative of her personality and status as the queen of the summer festival. Overall, an incredibly energetic demo that I have no qualms with rewatching. Albedo, coming in at number 7th with a seriously underrated character demo. Like, I don't understand why I don't see more people talking about this one. Right off the bat, the visuals in the opening scene are really cool, especially for one of the first character demos released all the way back in 2020. It's so incredibly dynamic how it just zooms through various regions of Mondstadt and Dragonspine before ending in the introductory art for the Cried Prince himself. Throughout these early scenes of normal attack showcases, the demo continually shows flashes of Albedo in monochrome, possibly hinting at there being more to him than meets the eye, which we now know in hindsight is completely true since we now know he is a synthetic life form. The scenes showing off Albedo's elemental skill are very cool looking, especially that small segment where it focuses briefly on the flower blooming, which is very fitting for Albedo's themes of birth and life. And I can't stress enough how cool it is when the visuals sync with the music, and this is one of the best moments to demonstrate an example of this. The appearance of Klee is obviously very cute, and helps to set up Albedo and Klee's brother-sister-esque relationship. And then we hit my favourite scene of the demo. Another dynamic zoom, this time through the eyes of different animals, as Albedo mentally separates himself from the fight to contemplate the creation of life through earth and chalk while the music slowly swells. And as the beat is about to drop, there is a brief hint at the existence of more than one synthetic Albedo, with this image flashing on the screen for only 11 frames. It's fantastic that HOYO-verse planned this far ahead to hint at the existence of other synthetic life forms akin to Albedo, and of course, the burst scene is very high impact, sending those rocks erupting from the ground and causing massive geo explosions everywhere, syncing up incredibly with the beat drop of the music. The demo ends with Klee being raised by Albedo's flower before lobbing a Jumpty Dumpty at the screen, followed by some humorous dialogue of Albedo's dismay at Klee accidentally destroying some of his scientific equipment. The music sounds like very energetic EDM or techno, which doesn't suit Albedo's reserved and calm personality at all, but it is definitely a banger, and as I said before, the visuals sync really well with the bombastic beat drops, and of course, that little Klee motif at the end ties everything together in a nice red bow.
Klee? No, not at the... Crucible.
And speaking of Klee...
Are you here for playtime with Klee? Okay, so you'll be in charge of the Storm Watch. Which means you warn Klee the second you see Jean coming. Let's go!
Klee's demo is just pure fun, and I love it so much. The demo begins with a big build-up to possibly the strongest knight of Favonius, the legendary girl in red, uncontainable, strongest fighter in Mondstadt, and then it cuts to a small elf girl with a red cap and a big backpack, and then the bombs start raining down. The editing style of this demo is really neat and exclusive to Klee. The red and white color scheme is portrayed all through these silly moving edits of the introductory art, and even small things like the Jumpty Dumpty. What is so great about the demo is just how carefree it feels. It's just Klee running through various locations around Mondstadt while everything and everyone explodes around her. The most fun thing about this demo is the way the light-hearted and joyful music contrast all of the murder Klee commits as she runs around. I don't know if it's just me, but Klee's character demo really reminds me of Meet the Pyro from TF2. They are both pyromaniacs whose violence and destruction they end up causing are due to either sweet innocence or complete accident. The downtime segment of this demo is simply her being sentenced to solitary confinement for a couple of days by Jean. But after a short time lapse, Klee is back out and about, running around and wreaking havoc on the local monster and fish population. I especially love the burst scene, when Klee uses her Spark and Splash and just casually walks through the hordes of enemies while her little gadget blows everyone up. And it's especially cute when you see other characters like Razor and Jean struggling to protect her. and that final scene perfectly encapsulates her carefree personality. As the music reaches a bombastic finale, Klee joyfully runs across a large open field, lobbing bombs behind her without a care in the world. This is a fantastic demo, if only for how fun it is and how accurately it stylistically portrays the character of Klee. As a Xiao main, I might be a little biased about this entry, but from what I can tell by other people's reactions to this demo, the general opinion is that it's pretty damn good. The opening shot of the demo is the full moon, indicating that it is nighttime. In fact, every scene in this demo is set at night, to establish a darker atmosphere and tone. And can I say this is one of the best transitions into an introductory art out of any character? Xiao leaps off a building and plunges down, unmasking himself and staring directly into the camera. Everything about Xiao is speed and efficiency, and this translates into very rapid edits, and I like how a lot of these edits flash between Xiao being masked and Xiao being unmasked. There is a big build-up where the screen becomes frequently more and more corrupted by visual glitches and flashes of red, culminating in the revelation of Xiao's karmic debt. This is a downtime scene, and it is honestly one of the most interesting in any character demo, showing Xiao being figuratively held back by the painful binds caused by the death at his hands. But then he turns everything around when he unleashes his elemental burst, donning his Yaksha mask, and absolutely decimating his foes with powerful plunge attacks which erupt spears from the ground. Not only does this show Xiao's sheer power, but also his selflessness. It was just established that he is in perpetual agony as a side effect of his job as a Yaksha, yet he is prepared to continue to fight for the protection of Liyue. The camera then zooms out across Dihua Marsh, and I like the neat detail that this shot ends with the Wangshu Inn in the background, a very important place to Xiao's lore. The final scene is of Xiao standing there menacingly, with many quick cuts and then a fade to black. The music is very, very aggressive, definitely very fitting for our resident emo boy over here. The part that plays over the karmic binds scene is very dramatic and picks up amazingly during the subsequent burst scene. If I were to make any criticism, it would probably be that the burst scene could have lasted a little longer, because he only plunges 2 or 3 times before he gets suddenly cut off by the end of the music. But I think this is more of a nitpick than anything.
Man up, you're just imagining things.
Hu Tao's character demo is very similar to Klee's, in that it is intended to be a fun and entertaining way of advertising a very happy and light-hearted character. But Hu Tao has a lot of minor improvements which make it marginally better. For one, I like the subversion of genre. The beginning of the demo actually feels kind of ominous and spooky, with the dark lighting and a mysterious figure running around in the foreground. And then Hu Tao's little ghost appears and everything becomes much more fun. The music, obviously, is fantastic. I'm a sucker for swing music, so of course this track caught my attention. I like how Hu Tao's demo plays into the themes of breaking old tradition. As a young director of the Wangshen funeral parlor, she is much more upbeat about her occupation than her ancestors would have been, which translates very well into the style of the demo. There are a few vintage vignette filtered screens which pop up occasionally during fights, giving off a bit of a serious, old-timey feel, but the accompanying text always says something silly like ouch or zombie. Speaking of zombies, Chi-Chi makes a very brief appearance in this demo, setting up the very odd relationship between the dead child and the fanatic funeral director who just wants to give her a nice burial. There are also a lot of smaller elements which I liked, such as that one slide transition where all the words that appear on the screen reference the nursery rhyme Hu Tao sings in her idol animation. Alongside the great atmosphere, the demo also does well to showcase Hu Tao's playstyle, with a heavy emphasis on her main mode of fighting, charged attacks. The burst scene in this demo is unique, as it isn't done to demonstrate the sheer strength of the attack, but more so to play into the very silly, light-hearted nature of the demo as a whole. I mean, wouldn't you question why her burst involves swinging a ghost around in circles? Even the demo itself questions this. And of course, if you haven't caught on that Hu Tao likes to scare people, you have that little extra shot at the end which is obviously very endearing. Overall, this is just a really good demo, and I can't stress that enough. What is so good about Eula's demo is just how unique it is compared to so many other characters. with this demo completely relying on Eula's dance to convey its message and carry the entire experience. The choreography is surprisingly good for an animation team which wouldn't ordinarily specialize in animating dance scenes, and wow, that is genuinely the best way of transitioning into an introductory art out of any demo. While showcasing her normal attacks, rather than showing her strength at defeating enemies, the demo is more interested in showing how Eula integrates her dancing into a fighting style, with the leaps, twirls, and footwork. There are so many fantastic transitions between Eula dancing and her attacks, like these quick switches between pivoting her body and swinging her blade. And of course, the fantastic music complements all of these visuals perfectly. I really like how most of the demo is simply Eula dancing on her own, symbolizing her isolation from others due to her forsaken ancestry. Eula's demo plays into the themes of rebellion against her evil family, the Lawrences, showing through her choice to dance as a pastime instead of as a family tradition, and integrating said dance into her fighting style, which she uses to serve the Knights of Favonius, the Lawrences' worst enemy. The demo even gives insight into the glacial seal, the symbol of Lawrence pride, and from there it makes thematic sense why Eula makes it explode during her elemental burst. And of course, we can't forget the cameo by Amber at the very end of the demo, to add some sweet shipping material into the mix. Overall, fantastic demo, and it really does deserve to be in the top 3 of any list in my opinion. Also, quick side note, there's a common misconception that Eula is dancing the tango, based on the fact that she tells Amber,
Not yet. It takes 2 to tango.
but the music and choreography seems more like a hybrid between Spanish flamenco and classical ballet. Anyway, moving on.
They say that before he set out, he spoke these words.
I hope it's not controversial to say that old John Lee deserves to be one of the top spots on this list about character demos. I mean, if views are concerned, Zhong Li is winning by a landslide. But yes, this demo is fantastic. One thing I want to mention before we get too far is that this demo loves to show off the contrast between Zhong Li, the regular human, and the deity known as Rex Lapis. I like how the demo doesn't start by immediately focusing on Zhong Li, more on Iron Tongue Tian telling a story about Rex Lapis to a small audience of third round knockout customers, of which Zhong Li is simply one of them. It shows that he likes to be anonymous and not stand out in a crowd. The first time the demo explicitly focuses on Zhong Li's face is right before the introductory art, and there's something I really love about the transition into his silhouette appearing on the screen that I can't put my finger on. The actual reveal of the splash art of the Geo Archon himself is gorgeous, and it helps a lot that the music syncs up amazingly. There's just something special even about the normal attack showcase. All of those brief flashes of Zhong Li in his dragon form appearing in the background look really cool, furthering the comparison. And of course, there's something very funny about Zhong Li just standing there, arms crossed, while an army of monsters just wail on him, unable to break through his shield. The scene where he fights off a whole group of enemies looks stunning, with those flashing bloom edits looking so vibrant, especially in the setting sun. It makes Zhong Li feel and look powerful. His burst scene is my favourite out of any demo. The scale is epic. Bringing down a meteor to decimate everyone in his path always sends a shiver down my spine, especially accompanied with the beat drop of the music.
I will have order.
I like the transition at the end where he goes from his spear-wielding figure back to just walking amongst the common folk in Liyue Harbor. Wait, did I not mention the music? Well, the music is without a doubt one of, if not the best track HOYO-Verse ever produced. And the use of traditional Chinese instruments in a trap style suits Zhong Li well. Bringing old elements of culture into the modern times is what he and Liyue are all about. Aside from a couple of visual glitches here and there, this is a phenomenal character demo. But there's still one more to talk about.
Only through eternity are you closest to the heavenly principles.
While Zhong Li brought some fantastic elements to his demo, Raiden Shogun remains consistently amazing all throughout. The thing that sets this demo apart from the other Archons, Venti and Zhong Li, is that those demos try to pretend that those characters may not be Archons, since that is revealed as a plot point through twists in the in-game story. Since it is already established that Raiden Shogun is the Electro Archon, the demo can go all out to show the visual spectacle and the true power that a demo about a god should have. The opening scene is a demonstration of massive scale, following a bird from Yaimiko at the Narukami Shrine to the Tenshikaku Palace. I really like the contrast here of the imposing Raiden Shogun standing tall atop the highest building in the city, before the camera pans over her head and upside down to show the calm A, meditating in the flat plain of Euthymia. Also, just look at this scene and tell me it doesn't look absolutely brilliant. The transition into and the introductory art are obviously among the best, with the Eye of Stormy Judgment swapping quickly into a back-to-back of A and the Shogun, and then into the plain of Euthymia. No scene lingers for too long and the edits are lightning quick, with some even only lasting 3 or 4 frames, which stylistically fits the speed and efficiency the Shogun strives towards. The elemental skill showcase looks fantastic, and is a very clear and concise way of informing the audience about Raiden's gimmicks. The downtime segment is of reality effectively splitting apart, revealing A and the Shogun, who is flickering like a hologram, perfectly capturing her artificiality. The burst scene is so unbelievably good, showing off the sheer strength of the Electro Archon. First off, good choice to have a fight exclusively the Kairagi, some of the stronger enemies in Inazuma. And of course, it's a good demonstration of power to see Raiden kill these enemies in a single hit. The super fast camera movements sell the speed of the literally lightning quick Muso Ishin attacks, especially that part at the end of the scene where she summons a volley of lightning to destroy 3 Kairagi in her way. During the scene, the demo somehow manages to also fit a bunch of cutaway edits. I really like that part where it pans underground again to show A harnessing her power to control the Shogun. There are so many isolated shots of slashing with her blade which always look really cool. And holy crap, that one split second shot of Raiden with visions falling around her is always so chilling to me. As with a lot of endings, the demo concludes with a nice bookend. The bird from the beginning flies in and perches itself on Raiden's arm, as Raiden monologues about the purpose of maintaining eternity to preserve the well-being of Inazuma. Of course, the music matches everything very well, and is definitely at its best during the introductory art and the burst scene. Like Zhongli, the genre is trap, but this one uses traditional Japanese instruments as opposed to Chinese. This is the best character demo in my opinion. It was a close fight between Zhongli and Raiden, but in the end, the Shogun won out. And that's the whole list. Now I know there's going to be a lot of contention about the list in general, so I definitely encourage you guys to formulate your own list in the comments. Everyone will have their own personal views on who has the best demo based on personal tastes and biases towards some characters. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like and subscribe and all that arbitrary stuff. I also have a Discord server, so be sure to join that. This is my first Genshin Impact video, so if this one does well, I might consider making another one but about a different topic. Anyway, see you in another month or so I guess.